Hi. or as I say at the beginning of every episode, hello, nerds. This is an experiment, obviously, because there's 3 of us. But hopefully, as these happen more often, we'll get more people to come to them. This is my weekly videos, is what we're going to be doing, effectively. And then the second half of this is going to be the MCU conversation that was on the flyers. So, without further ado, normally, it's one topic, a video. We're just going to breeze through headlines, nerdy news headlines real quick, and then we'll get to the Marvel conversation. So this week, what I've got for headlines, I have, in music, I have new music from Code Orange for metalheads out there. If you like the heavy, these guys are really interesting. I don't know Aaron specifically because I know you do like the metals. If you've heard of Code Orange, they just signed with Roadrunner a couple of months ago. They put out 2 solo records before they signed with Roadrunner. The last one was called Forever. Roadrunner just picked up the redistribution rights for Forever. It's amazing. It's such a great album. It's like a modern hardcore industrial metal kind of mash. And these kids, they're like 20-something kids and really into the hardcore scene, but don't want to be pigeonholed as a hardcore band. So they're working on a new record, and we got a new song from them months ago, but we have a new quasi behind the scenes, quasi live video up on YouTube, the link to which will be in the description of the video. And just super excited about it. It's really cool. They have this interesting 90s aesthetic that they've come to. It's kind of popular, I guess, now. It's in vogue with a lot of hipster types that the 90s are an aesthetic to aim for. There's a lot of resurgence of grunge styling, not necessarily grunge sound, just the visual elements of that. And these guys are kind of latching onto that with this video, but it's something else entirely. It's quasi-disturbing. it's really cool. It's definitely something worth checking out. And then slightly unusual 2 more headlines, because I usually only talk about heavy stuff, though I'll get into anything that piques my interest. So the last 2 bits are actually hip-hop updates. Wu-Tang is getting a 4-part documentary on Showtime. The first trailer is up on YouTube, also linked down in the description for this video. It looks like it's going to be a kind of a class on this is what hip-hop is, children. for the mumble rap generation, it looks pretty cool. It might be a little too fluff piece, just because the director of it is a longtime friend of the group. What's her name? Sasha Jenkins. She's done a few of their videos. I think she did a different documentary a few years back. So somebody who knows them well is doing this. So it might not get all of the ugly bits, but it'll still be cool either way. 4 parts on Showtime. Starts. Couldn't find a date because it's not in my notes. So it'll be 4 parts. It's to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Enter Wu-Tang, their first record, which is really weird to say that it's 25 years old now. And then the last bit for music news is DMX just got released from prison. He's looking to do a new album and wants to sell the rights to do a biopic because that's something everyone wants to see. Everybody wants that. So, next we're moving into television news. Reborn, Sandra Bullock and Chris McKay have both signed to produce Mark Millar and Greg Capullo's Reborn series for Netflix. Sandra has left open the option, but has not signed the deal to also be in the cast, be in the lead role for the cast. That comes from Deadline. We have potential news for Punisher Season 3 because they haven't announced a cancellation for it yet. It just might happen. Emphasis on the mic. Yes. Heroic Hollywood was talking to producer Steve Lightfoot, who produces the series, and said he wants to bring Daredevil and Kingpin into the 3rd season, should it happen. Though, from the sounds of the interview, he's being realistic about that possibility. This one just happened 2 days ago. Deadline has some sort of weird inside source with Netflix, and they're saying that Netflix is actively in production on a Resident Evil series. So it might be good, and it might be just as terrible as the movies. The source says that they're going to keep the basic premise of the series. Now, does that mean the series of movies or the series of video games? That part's super vague. And then the purpose of the series is going to be to explore Umbrella, and so it sounds like it might be quasi-procedural in that respect, and the New World Order caused by the outbreak of the T-virus. I don't, like, that doesn't... It sounds like there's potential, but I really think that potential is going to be squandered. We'll open up discussion before we move in once we're done with headlines. Next is Batwoman. Really cool announcement for Batwoman. Casting announcements. Batwoman is coming to CW. That's kind of a given at this point. Ruby Rose is going to be Batwoman. Megan, I don't know how she pronounces her name. Megan Tandy is been cast as Sophie Moore, who I'm pretty sure was Batwoman's girlfriend at least once in the series. Nicole Kang has been cast as Mary Hamilton, who is Kate Kane's stepsister, which she's Asian, so I would imagine this is an adoption story that they're going to be playing. And then the final casting choice, which was really cool, is a dude named Cameron Johnson has been cast as Luke Fox, Lucius Fox's son, who in the series, in the comics, becomes Batwing, which is weird because that's also the name of its plane. But that just, that's opening the floor. Are they going to expand the Batverse? Are they going to, is this the kind of a backdoor to get around Batman? Apparently they don't really have the rights to put Batman in the CW because the rights are over on DC Universe for Titans and in the movies, which all of that just gets so jumbled. But that's still really interesting. And then when I was doing the research or getting all of these put together properly, I saw IMDb has him listed as Batwing in the first 5 episodes. So, yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited about that. Amazon Prime is venturing into stand-up comedy just because they can't help themselves but to compete with Netflix. The first stand-up comedy special is going to be Jim Gaffigan. I'm a big fan of Jim Gaffigan, so I just felt like he needed a little bit of praise. It's going to be filmed March 9th, and then the air date is yet to be decided. Or once streaming date, I guess, since it's online. And then last bit of TV news is the new Star Trek series coming to CBS All Access. Still no proper title for it, but we do know it's going to be Jean-Luc. And we also now know, because Jonathan Frakes has been talking to everyone, apparently, that it's not going to be Captain Jean-Luc. He's no longer a captain or commander. He's beyond that point with Starfleet, which is really interesting because the last time we saw Jean-Luc, he was the ambassador to Romulus, which had just been blown up. So very, very interested to see what happens with that, just because that's probably my second favorite of the Treks. I'm a Deep Space Nine guy. Movie news, Bumblebee 2 already been greenlit by Paramount because that's a thing we need. Though the first one apparently is doing well. It hasn't gotten bad reviews for anything I've seen. I haven't seen it yet, but whatever. In other sequel news, though, Baby Driver 2, Edgar Wright has finished the first draft on the script, which means that's well underway. Probably start pre-production by the end of the year if he's already working on a second or possible third draft. Shazam, we've got another, they're leaning, so DC Extended Universe is leaning super heavy on New 52 storylines. And it's been the most evident with Shazam because we've gotten toy leaks so far about pretty much all of the Marvel family, and this is just another one, only it's not the Marvel family, it's Billy Batson's friends Darla and Eugene. There's going to be Funko Pops. CBR got pictures of some Funko Pops of them as superheroes, which is the New 52 story. That's how the New 52 version of Shazam played out, so that's could be good. Maybe. it's New 52, so maybe not, but it could be good. And then Ryan Reynolds, never mind the rumors, Ryan Reynolds is talking about Deadpool 3. Even though I've seen everyone go from Deadpool 3's been canceled to it's been shelved indefinitely. Ryan Reynolds apparently didn't get the memo because he's talking about Deadpool 3. It very well could be a troll. He was talking at the Chinese premiere of Deadpool 2, and he's saying that he wants to take Deadpool 3 with the writing staff that they have in a different direction because he feels like movies wait too long to get rebooted, which is what makes me think he's just trolling. Because you don't reboot on the third movie. Big Lebowski. Any dude fans who are watching, Jeff Bridges posted a 15-second clip on his Twitter as the dude himself. And then it was a real short clip, obviously 15 seconds. And at the end, it had the date 2/3/19, which is the date of the Super Bowl. So very well could just be another troll like we got last year from Danny McBride doing the Crocodile Dundee reboot that just turned into an Australia commercial. Space Jam 2 is apparently actually going into production June 17th. Somewhere in California. Details as to where exactly have been scant, but that's coming through Discussing Film, their Twitter account. So don't know exactly much more details than that. Morbius the Living Vampire is the next bit. Matt Smith, the Doctor, is signed on to be a, quote, major role. Didn't say it was going to be the villain, though Morbius is kind of a villain in and of itself, so I don't know how that's going to play out. But that's interesting. They're getting Matt, one of the bigger Doctor Who names, to be in this movie. So between Leto and Smith, it's gonna be worth watching just to see what happens. Black Widow, Geeks Worldwide is reporting that they have confirmed production for the Black Widow movie. February 28th, it will start in both Croatia and Miami. And then that hashtag show says their plan is to run production through March. So relatively short in the world of Marvel as far as production goes. Probably not going to be a whole lot of special effects. So hopefully it'll be a real quick turnaround. And then we can proceed to make fun of it should it suck. Studio Ghibli. Anime Nerds, Studio Ghibli is working on 2 features, both of which are as yet untitled, but only one of which will be directed by Miyazaki himself. The other one is going to be directed by his son, Goro, which, shout out to Mortal Kombat. And then the last bit of movie news is Wonder Woman 3. Not to be outdone by Deadpool, Patty Jenkins was talking to Vanity Fair saying that she also has plans for her next Wonder Woman movie, but the little bit that she said about it kind of inferred that maybe she wasn't going to be directing. So who could be directing Wonder Woman 3? We probably won't know for a little while. And then I only have one bit for gaming, nothing in comic books. I honestly kind of was more preparing for this. I ran out of time to do comic books, but last week's comic books video just went up, so I think we're okay. The Metroid Prime 4 just got pushed back really, really far. If you have a Switch, then this is really bad news. They're completely scrapping everything they had for Metroid Prime 4 and starting brand new from scratch with a new developer, because apparently they had like 3 developers working on it, and one developer was hitting all their benchmarks and the other 2 were not. So they just said, screw it. Everything's going to the wayside and we're starting over with these guys and they're going to do everything. So there's no release date, nothing. Just not going to see daylight anytime soon. But they are re-releasing the other 3 Metroid Primes for the Switch in the meantime. So not all bad news. So there is a microphone right there if you wanted to add your 2 cents. Either of you, being as, I know both of you. And those of you watching otherwise, if you're watching after the fact, we will be doing this once a month. So if you are in the Northern Colorado area, then you can totally join. Price of the door was just $3. So, and it helps support local businesses. I'm shooting this in local comic book shop. You can't really see it in any of these camera angles because we're in the back room where they store the games. But this is definitely trying to help support local businesses, and, I'm a local business myself. So, if there is nothing you would like to interject, we will move into the Marvel discussion. So, Marvel Cinematic Universe, to reboot or not to reboot? I have written a little blurb here to start the conversation. We are in the age of superheroes, superhero movies, smack dab in the middle of it, in fact. And not to say that predicting the demise of the age of superhero movies, because heaven forbid it should end anytime soon, but just kind of give us an idea. We've been here for a while. And as that popularity rises, the culture that surrounded it, the people who only watch the movies are about to get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to be a comic book reader, because a lot of contracts are about to be expired, meaning they're going to have to recast Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, potentially, though she might be inking a new contract with this Black Widow movie. Kevin Feige and Marvel have a lot of change that has to happen. Pardon me. So are they going to just recast, or are they going to reboot somehow? With Phase 4, we already know a fair amount of what's going to happen in Phase 4. We have Spider-Man, Black Panther, Black Widow. We have the Doctor Strange number 2 has been confirmed to be in production. Captain Marvel is going to be the first official movie of Phase 4. We have the Eternals movie that Ava DuVernay is working on that will likely be towards the end of Phase 4. But all that being said, Guardians of the Galaxy has been shelved. Maybe it'll see the light of day within Phase 4, though likely that might be moved to Phase 5. They're giving themselves a bit of a buffer between what we know of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So everything starting from Iron Man 1 up until Avengers Endgame, because that will be the last movie of Phase 3. Everything in there, almost probably like 90% of those actors are not in Phase 4 because most of their contracts are up. So, and then we also have the Fox merger with the introduction of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and everything that entails therein. Are they going to recast or reboot, or are they going to just incorporate what Fox already has put in place and just say this is all canon now? That's where we are. What do you think is going to happen with? Go. It's, that way the computer can hear you too.
Oh man. I mean, it's interesting to think about all of the, I don't know what you call them, the peripherals that Marvel has. Like right. You think about the Netflix shows, which were very loosely connected at the very beginning and now right. seem to be completely separate. Like obviously the Snap did absolutely nothing to right. to the Netflix verse for Marvel. And then you got Disney Plus coming in the next right. year or so, and they're going to do live action Loki. So they have Loki, they have Vision and Scarlet Witch. They have potentially Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then there's a whole list of potentials. I have it right here too. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. Extensive, to think about the characters are gonna move, especially from the movies, like Tom Hiddleston going from the movies to a live action and episodic too. So I just found the list. So Lady Sif, Hawkeye, Rocket and Groot, Agent 13, Nebula and Okoye, the wow. Ravagers, Ant-Man prequel focusing on Hank Pym, and Moon Knight and the Sentry. So the wow. list is extensive. But the Hiddleston thing, he might just be doing a voiceover. It might be a young Loki, so they'll have an actor on screen, and he's only going to spend a day doing voiceovers for the entire 6 episodes or whatever. Makes sense. And I think as far as the movies are concerned, you've got so many options. You think about Evan's contract expiring and right. the fact that Falcon or Bucky can move into that role as they do in the comics. Right. With like Downey Jr., you think about who else could be Iron Man. Like you're not going to bring in War Machine to sort of take that central role. Because you would imagine that contract is getting up too. Don Cheadle's not going to be around forever. And I don't think enough. I mean, comic book nerds, we know. You've got they introduced Ironheart a year and a half ago.
Right.
Like, but nobody outside of that fandom is really familiar with Riri Williams, and
true. I mean, it did cause enough of a wake that I could see that being potential, but not this fast.
Yeah, because they haven't laid the groundwork for any of that.
Right. And that would also require an established Iron Man in order to hand that over. So if RDJ is going to be gone, then you still have to get somebody to give all of that tech to Riri Williams.
Yeah, and you think about, we're all speculating how much time and the time stone and the quantum realm are going to play a role in Endgame. Right. And the fact that Marvel and Kevin Feige look and go, look, this is our chance to do a reset within a timeline because it's our central focus of that. And you could wipe the slate clean and go, we're starting over with everybody, and you keep some of the same characters and the same actors because you can integrate them into a new storyline. But Iron Man's gone and it's explained. Captain America's gone, it's explained. And maybe that's your pathway into integrating X-Men and Fantastic Four. I mean, with the cosmic universe, with Guardians of the Galaxy, I can easily see Silver Surfer showing up in one of those movies.
Well, and Adam McKay has been quasi-approached by Kevin Feige.
I saw that.
To maybe write it. That might be the first X-Men property we see is Silver Surfer, which makes a whole lot of sense, again, considering they're very likely going to be sticking with the cosmic side of things because Captain Marvel's what's introducing us to Phase 4.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Though there's a lot of people who are saying that the potential for the quantum realm to be their way of introducing the X-Men universe and the Fantastic Four and such, I feel like that's a little bit of wishful thinking because if you think about it, we still haven't finished that merger deal. Like the paperwork has not been completed. So because of that, they can't put anything into Endgame. And without it being in Endgame, how are they going to that? There's going to have to be another movie or series of movies that sets that up again. So I feel like that might be us just being hopeful nerds.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what it comes down to is what the fans express what they want as opposed to what the corporations can do with their money and their contracts and what's feasible in the terms of shooting and production and turning those things out that make enough sense. I think a lot of MCU fans, especially those people who have just seen the movies, they've gotten so invested in these characters, but again, in the whole realm of comic nerddom, it's such a small scope. Obviously, it's been going on for now 11 years if you go back to Iron Man 1. And it's caused people to get into comics and understand the origins and backgrounds of these characters. But, some people are okay with one movie laying the groundwork for a new Iron Man or a new Captain America. Like if they get that, it's fine. Whereas some of us are like, no, you got to do this first. You got to do this first. Or if you don't introduce, the original X-Men team in the right way, And
so that also brings up the issue of Disney purchasing Fox. If they want to introduce, like you said, the Fox characters in the right way, are they just going to recast and tell everyone that's already been these roles in the popular consciousness even? Sorry, guys, new management.
Maybe that's the easiest way to do it for them from a legal standpoint. I don't know.
That's why I wanted to have this conversation is because I don't think that's a great idea. I feel like there's a way to maintain those actors and still do a soft reboot of their storylines because we can cheat after reestablishing, that we can reach other realms through the quantum zone. We can cheat, and these are familiar faces, but we don't know their stories. Yeah. Which is totally a comic books thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Everybody's fine with that to a certain extent.
But then the other half of that is the average person who doesn't read comic books, who doesn't know that's how comic books work. Are they going to accept that? Is that going to kill the bottom line for Disney rather?
I mean, I think the MCU and the movies, even the Fox properties, have such a good, I don't want to say casual fan base, but that's probably the best way to describe it.
Right.
Is that the hardcore fans, yeah, some might boycott, some might be like, this isn't right, and we're not going to go see this again. That's always going to happen, but I don't think it's going to hurt. I don't think Disney's worried about their bottom line at all when it comes to this, because think of all the things you've got tied into it.
But I mean, if touche, and this is just devil's advocate at this point. We did see a course correction with the whole Star Wars thing. Yeah. Because of the vehement backlash about Last Jedi, they did some course correction. Because that also, and really the reason I feel like Solo underperformed is more because of the time of year it was released, rather than because of the boycott.
Yeah.
But still, because of the backlash from Last Jedi and then the underperformance of Solo, they went, okay, hold up, we gotta take a couple steps back. They canceled Boba Fett. They canceled, or shelved rather, Obi-Wan, because that was in pre-production. And now they're saying, we're just gonna let Favreau do his thing on Disney Plus and see how that goes. Yeah. And then the Weiss Benioff series is gonna happen, and then the Rian Johnson series is gonna happen, and those are their movie trilogies. And it's going to be, instead of one movie a year like they have been, it's going to be whenever it's ready. We don't want to rush you.
which is the smart thing to do, probably.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But does that then translate into how they treat the Marvel properties?
I would think so. I think you've got such a long history of work to look at of what's done well and what's not done well. You think about, the second Thor movie wasn't as well received when it came out.
And then they did the course correction with Ragnarok.
And then Ragnarok totally set that back on course.
Yeah.
Everybody thought, well, first of all, a lot of casual fans didn't know who Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest movies of that year.
Right.
And another character like Black Panther. Like I think Disney and Marvel have hit on such these more unknown characters. Even Iron Man wasn't that well known.
Iron Man was a B-lister before Robert Downey Jr.
And I honestly think, and I saw that movie when it came out, and it really set the tone. And that's the thing, is you had Iron Man, and then 2 months later you had Dark Knight. Yeah, and they were such different movies, but they both set the tone for each major company's sort of path for the next 10 years. And obviously DC's gone one way, far off the farm here. Whereas Marvel sort of taken that and ridden that as far as they can. Again, with Downey Jr. leaving after Endgame, they're going to have to figure out what's their next pivot point, because he set the tone so long ago. And he hasn't carried every movie, but he's carried a lot of the movies he's been in.
That's true.
For sure.
That's so, and that kind of brings us back to the front of when he's gone. Is there somebody who is in Hollywood that has that kind of pull? Is there somebody who can fill those shoes, or is it somebody they're going to have to build up into that role?
I think you have to build. I think you have to leave Iron Man out for maybe, let's say, 2 movies. And you bring somebody in that starts building that back up, and then you can leave hints and Easter eggs here and there to sort of lay the groundwork of somebody else coming in.
Right.
And then when, I think Disney and Marvel are smart enough to know not to just, recast immediately on that, especially that role, since that was the original.
Right.
But, lay a little groundwork in a couple movies, introduce a character that have fans saying, oh, it could be, oh, it might be. And whether there's a comic origin or not, like Disney might decide to be like, we'll do something completely out of the ordinary. But again, you're going to have to appease both the casual and the hardcore fans in that sense.
And that's,
which I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I don't think the higher ups at Marvel have that either.
No, probably not.
But yeah, I think you leave it alone for a couple movies, and then you let it build back.
Give it a little bit of space to breathe.
Well, and I think that's something that Feige's done really well, is sort of just let things grow organically over the last 10 years. I don't think they've ever really forced anything. When I look at Marvel movies, I don't think of anything forced. I look at DC and I think of, they tried to force a lot of stuff.
Right.
They tried to shove Batman, Superman down our throats, and we saw what happened.
And Justice League.
And
Suicide Squad.
And maybe they found their course correction with Aquaman doing so well.
It doesn't maybe, but if the reports are for the Harley Quinn stuff, because they're going to turn Harley into a trilogy. Yeah. It's going to be the Birds of Prey, and then Gotham City Sirens, and then Birds of Prey versus Gotham City Sirens. And the tone of those movies is going to go right back in the direction of BVS.
Yeah.
is what they have said. They're going for a more grounded, realistic tone. Yeah. It's a comic book movie.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I think Marvel does a good job of letting them be comic book movies, let them just
and still
grow.
Have that gravitas.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. You've got the story that holds the weight, and you've got the characters, the actors playing the characters that are just carrying everything forward. And like I said, nothing has ever felt forced. Even the movies that didn't do so well or weren't as well received, you watch those again a couple months, couple years later, and you're like, all right, this fits within this grander scale that Feige and all these guys have come up with, and it all meshed. Obviously, with the first Avengers movie was unlike anything we'd ever seen, True. And we were all blown away. And then they upped the ante, even with Age of Ultron, which I would put the first Avengers lower. Above that. But yeah. Sure. Ultron comes a little lower, but then obviously with Infinity War and everything came together, you're like, they spent 10 years building this puzzle
just so they could make this one movie.
Just to make this happen. And you try to go back and poke holes in it, and there aren't really that many there.
Well, and if you're looking hard enough, you can find holes in anything.
Yeah.
There's been people poking holes in the Christopher Nolan Bat trilogy forever. And it's like, but they're good freaking movies regardless. Yeah. So, I totally understand what you're... I honestly feel like they're going to be... It's the most logical choice anyway. I don't know if this is the way they're going to take it, but the most logical choice is give themselves that little bit of breathing room. And from the looks of Phase 4, that is the way they're going to be taking it, is we need to be able to step away from these characters so people kind of were like, oh, sure, I remember Iron Man. I remember. Yeah. So then, because Avengers is what's opening up the door, do you think Universal's going to give up the rights to Hulk anytime soon?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a really good question.
Because we had the last Hulk solo movie was the Edward Norton, and there have been interviews with, I don't know if it was with Feige proper, but with somebody who's almost to that level, saying that was kind of sort of the backdoor jumpstart to the MCU because it was before Iron Man. So, but Universal's just been so stubborn. I don't know if they really care, because Hulk's not really that much of a leading man on screen, it seems like.
And I'm just trying to think of how many movies Ruffalo signed on for. Was it 6 or 7? I
think it was 7.
But he's almost fulfilled that too. I think Endgame will fulfill that again. So he's another one of those that, what does Marvel do with that? Moving forward.
Your 2 cents in, Josh?
But
you're not one to talk.
That character is one of the ones that has been replaced the most too. Because he's not center stage.
Well, and he's also not a Disney property at the moment. No. So
that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
It can be done. I feel like it can be done more easily with him because he's been replaced so many times. And in a way, don't attack me. In a way, likes them all. Like there's a little bit of each one.
Oh no, I totally unpopular opinion. I like Ang Lee's Hulk. It's just so pretty. That the only reason I like Ang Lee's Hulk is because it's so pretty.
And I haven't.
The cinematography in that movie is brilliant. Every other element about that movie, absolutely.
I have not watched that. I have not watched that since I saw it in theaters. But I'm a fan of Norton's Incredible Hulk. Like I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Edward Norton's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, and you had the Easter egg at the end with Stark coming in and talking to Ross and sort of setting that up because we were all so blown away with Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man. We're like, whoa. And that again started the whole stay after the credits because you never know what's going to happen. And that was another one of those where we're like, all right, we started here and now we're expanding outwards. And what do you do with Hulk and with Ruffalo's contract being done? I don't know. It's
a difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, you've got if Marvel wants to go more female centric, you've got She-Hulk, you've got Jennifer. Oh, what's her last name? I just blanked on it. She's pretty central to the new the new Avengers run that Jason Aaron's been doing too.
Walters.
Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, there's a path you could possibly take. I don't know how that would translate to the big screen, but it's there. That's the thing. It's like it's there.
It's an interesting. I didn't even think about because once eventually Universal, because they haven't done anything with it. It has to just default soon.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Disney hasn't made a Hulk movie, is because they're because of that tension, because Universal, from what I know, does own the movie rights. Otherwise, we would have seen a solo Ruffalo Hulk movie before Endgame.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe that's why they haven't done that. That would make sense, too, because they don't want to be paying somebody else for their own property.
No.
I want to see it happen well. That's my big thing, is I want it to be successful, because I really enjoy, even though it's not the best cinema ever, like, you could definitely make an argument that this is actually top of the mediocrity pile as far as cinematography goes and the language of movies. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of bland there, but it's the story itself. It's what we're getting on the screen that is paying enough homage to the source material to satisfy, if not just satiate, the hardcore fans, and then get so many more people into this culture that we've been a part of forever, that it's just really exciting to see all of that happen. I don't want all of that headway that they've made to be completely squandered because they can't get a contract signed. So yeah, that's a good conversation there, sir. I appreciate you coming in, and thanks for chiming in there, Meg. So I feel like because we are looking at just a room of 3 people, hopefully next month we'll get more. But next month, I haven't decided on the topic just yet for next month. I was going to try and have that picked out before we started filming today, but I have a list of topics and they all sound really great to me, so I just kind of have to pick one. So keep your eyes peeled to the Facebook and stuff. We will be promoting through the Rogues Roost Facebook again, assuming Josh will have me back. And just keep watching, guys. I appreciate anyone who's watching this after effect. Again, the last Monday of every month is when we are doing this, so you should be seeing this right around Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month. But before we do officially sign off and go our separate ways and all of that fun stuff, guys, always remember that if it is generally nerdy, it is probably here.